Coming up next, it's the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time. We talk about the situation with TNA house shows. TNA is going live again on March 1st up against WWE Raw, our best and worst Royal Rumbles of all time. And who's got a brand new TV show, not wrestling related, coming from World Wrestling Entertainment. All that coming up next, right here on the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time.
Number one since 1998 on television, ESPN Radio, and the World Wide Web. This is the Pro Wrestling Report. Your hosts, the man they call Meathead, Frank Santino, and Damian Nelson. Professional wrestling news, opinion, and information from fans for fans.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time for Friday, January 29th, 2010. Damian Nelson sitting here alongside David Octavius Hero. David, how are you?
I am fabulous. 8 degrees outside. You can't beat this.
It is certainly cold outside, but it's hot in here in the studio, and that's with 2 R's, by the way. Let's get right down to it. And the first thing, the big news from earlier in the week, TNA returns to Monday nights on March 1st up against Cheech and Chong. We said that after TNA went live on January 4th that they would potentially be doing so on a more regular basis, maybe quarterly, and Spike TV granting the green light for TNA to go live again up against WWE Raw on March 1st, as WWE is firmly going to be on the road to WrestleMania. David Hero, what must TNA do now? I ask that because they don't have the opportunity to bring in so many names and make such a huge show. We don't know if it's going to be 2 hours or 3 hours. One would assume 2, right up against Monday Night Raw.
The Nasty Boys. That'll be a World Tag Team title
according
match.
to you, though, they'll be gone by then.
Well, they could be gone by then. You know what? TNA right now, I mean, they should do things every Monday night. Spike will greenlight this for the rest of the year because of how well it did in the ratings.
But is it time? We talked about those poll results from PWRshow.com just a little while ago. Most people thought they should go to Monday nights, but it was split between whether it should be immediately or down the road.
Here's the problem. They brought in so many new faces, new old faces. There's not that many guys left to bring in anymore.
Right.
So, you know, the shock and awe value might not be there.
A couple of names that are being thrown around include the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, the Honky Tonk Man.
He's going to be, if he's in the Hall of Fame this year, he will not be.
He's not going to be in the Hall of Fame this year.
No. You don't think so? The Honky Tonk Man? His hometown of Phoenix, Arizona?
I don't think so.
It's one less plane ticket to buy.
That is true. I'm not sure WWE
And
worries
I'm
about
sure,
such small costs.
knowing Honky Tonk, he's probably saying this to make sure Vince does put him in the Hall of Fame.
He's got heat with WWE, though. True. He's been
He
very
has heat
outspoken.
with everybody.
I shared an elevator with him once. Honky Tonk Man.
Was it a good
Slammies,
experience?
1997,
Were you going up
WrestleMania
or down?
13. We were going up, and it was the year he wore his jumpsuit and a bow tie to the Slammies. That was his tuxedo. He's yanking the thing up. Can't get this damn thing off my neck. It was just funny. Anyways, enough about me. The other name being thrown around, DDP, Self High Five.
You gotta love DDP.
Bang.
You know,
Who was in TNA before, by the way.
he was, and you know what? He's in great shape. You know, he's more
Yoga.
He's YRG, yoga for regular guys. But you know, Eric Bischoff, what?
Just
Yoga
making sure.
for regular guys.
The F is not
No, not at all.
acronomicized.
It's not even there. But let's not forget, Eric Bischoff and Dallas Page are best buddies. They were neighbors,
Yeah.
legitimate neighbors during the whole WCW Monday Night Wars.
Speaking of big friends of Eric Bischoff, what about the cat, Ernest Miller?
Oh, please, really?
He did karate lessons for his kid, remember? Or
You know
something
what?
to that effect.
You know what? The cat's not coming in.
Somebody call my mama. David Hero doesn't like the cat.
I didn't say I didn't like the cat. I don't think that if they bring the cat, that means Glacier's coming in.
Oh, no, don't go there. Don't
You know?
go there. No. Mortal Kombat!
Does that mean Wrath comes along too?
And don't forget the Yeti.
The Yeti. Yeah. No.
Honky Tonk Man, yay, nay to TNA.
I doubt it.
DDP, yay, nay to TNA.
I could see that happening.
What the heck would they use the Honky Tonk Man for? I don't think he doesn't
See,
wrestle much anymore.
No, there's no reason to bring Honky Tonk Man in because him and Jeff Jarrett have a little bit of heat from the whole guitar angle from years back.
Yeah. Maybe that's what they do.
Honky Tonk Man is just posturing for the Hall of Fame.
All right. If you say so. March 1st. What do they need to do? What's that? Have they done enough? Are they going to make a big enough bang against WWE? Since January 4th, when they popped that 1.5 rating, the highest ever for Impact, they've been sitting around the 1.3 neighborhood, which isn't bad on their normal Thursday night time slot.
Well, it's
what
considerably better
expectations
than
will
what
be
they
there.
have been doing on Thursday
Absolutely,
nights.
absolutely. To the tune of probably 500,000 viewers, if not more. But
They need to have a pay-per-view quality match, not AJ and Angle. They need to have a big match they can just give away for free to draw people to watch Monday nights. Then, hopefully, somebody will remind them to tell Taz and Tenay to plug that the show is normally on Thursdays.
they would have to do an equal amount of marketing, I think, to make sure people knew that was on again on Monday night. Now, keep in mind, our feedback since January 4th has been strongly in favor of TNA, meaning not necessarily agree or disagree, but more of the volume of correspondences we're getting, whether it be via our Twitter account or even email at pwrshow.com, comments in the forum at pwrshow.com, and you heard some of those emails on PWR Interactive just yesterday.
And the amazing calls we've been getting lately.
It's all about TNA. People are talking about TNA, so the awareness is out there, but the question is, will fans again make that choice, or will millions of more fans tune in on a Monday night to see TNA and not come from the WWE audience, but be new fans again?
Well, let's be honest. Are you going to watch TNA where something could happen, or are you going to watch Cheech and Chong?
TNA faux show. But I don't think the guest host has as much to do with it, because we should be deeply involved in the Bret Hart angle at that point. Bret Hart returns to Raw this Monday night, and should be very intriguing television come a few weeks on March 1st.
And plus, they're building towards WrestleMania. But I think TNA just needs to just keep being consistent, not make too many new signings from now until March 1st, which really, who's left for them to bring in right now?
There's RVD, who said that WWE was so afraid that he had signed with TNA, they canceled his WWE Universe account. He said that in a recent interview.
Yeah. Now, I'm looking forward to March 1st. I think it'll be some more good TV.
And again, who will be the winners on March 1st? Us, the wrestling fans.
Absolutely.
Next thing we're going to talk about, sorry about the brain fart there, is from a carryover from this past Monday's ESPN radio show, where Ken Anderson was our guest again. A very popular interview. A lot of people
How'd you get
talking
hold of
about. You know what? It's a friend of a friend.
Okay, I gotcha.
A lot of people talking about the things he had to say about TNA, and I just remember what my brain fart was. Ted DiBiase did a recent interview as well with Live Audio Wrestling, I believe, on the Fight Network, and indicated that WWE was paying attention on January 4th to TNA, and that a lot of the workers and wrestlers want TNA to succeed to a degree, because, as we said for a long time, it just helps the business overall.
Yeah, because it's also another place for them to go if they're
Leverage.
unhappy with Vince. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But the Royal Rumble, we talked about it on this past Monday's edition of the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. And while we won't be giving you a full preview today, you can catch our exclusive preview of the Royal Rumble this Sunday on the Wrestling Radio Awards broadcast. It's going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern Time at WrestlingRadioAwards.com. And in the meantime and in between time, while you're heading over there to check that out, make sure you vote for your favorite wrestling radio shows. Pro Wrestling Report nominated in 13 different categories.
Well, that's the
for
favorite,
that show.
regardless. It's the only one to vote for.
Just saying.
Hey, it just means more money for me.
I thought you had a multi-year.
Yeah,
Was
but
it a
there's
one-year deal?
bonuses,
That is true.
right?
We were asked by a caller which was our best and which was our worst Royal Rumble of all time. And I'll set the stage, and we'll start with the worst Royal Rumble of all time, in my opinion. And it's not easy to have a bad Royal Rumble, because there's so much excitement in it and so much energy in it and so much anticipation in it, where you really just don't know what's going to happen. Remember, let's give credit where credit's due. The creator of the Royal Rumble is none other than
Pat Patterson.
first Intercontinental Champion. The worst would have to go to 1995's version of the Royal Rumble, though, for many reasons. That was a Rumble where Shawn Michaels won it, and it was a Rumble that had 60-second intervals as well. I think it was about a 35-minute, 40-minute Royal Rumble, aside from the standard 2 minutes. And here's a fun thing to do while you're watching the Rumble: time the intervals, because they're not always the advertising.
But let's not forget who's in charge of that. The Brooklyn Brawler. I mean, really. They put him on the clock? Come Come on.
Worst for me would have to be 1995. And again, a good Rumble. And if you remember, there was all that LT stuff going on leading into WrestleMania 11, which was probably the worst WrestleMania of all time as well. So 1995, not a very good year for WWE, in my opinion. And that year hosted what I think is the worst Royal Rumble of them all. Still, though, a good Rumble.
I didn't like the one where Bret Hart and Lex Luger won the Rumble.
1 year earlier, 1994.
94.
Jack Tunney got involved.
It was very flat.
You really?
Yeah.
The ending, you didn't know who won. Fink calls different, says that Lex Luger had won, says that... but actually, no, it wasn't those two.
I didn't care for it.
All right, well, 1994, that's your choice for the worst Royal Rumble ever. Let's talk about the best in history, and I think without a shadow of a doubt, it has to go to the 1992 Rumble, the event entirely and the match itself, because that was the year in which Ric Flair won the Royal Rumble after coming in, I believe, at number 2. You had Heenan on commentary, you had Piper, you had all of this stuff going on. There was no way that the real world's champion, Ric Flair, was going to win with this pixel belt and win the Royal Rumble, and that year become the new WWE champion.
That pixelated belt was one of the tag belts.
Was it really?
It was, because they had to give the world title back.
Initially, though, it was the real world title.
Yeah. But then they had to bring out a tag belt and,
who cared?
Have
it was behind pixels.
Right, absolutely. I agree. 92 was awesome.
It was a great Rumble.
You had Texas Tornado, you had Ric Flair. All the big stars were in that Rumble.
And you know what's funny? And you talk about how much Royal Rumble defines WrestleMania. Many would say, and I will say, that WrestleMania 8 that same year, one of the best WrestleManias of all time as well. You had Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper. You had Ric Flair versus the Macho Man, and just a wild, crazy matchup. Elizabeth getting involved, and all kinds of shenanigans happened. The return of the Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan versus Psycho Sid, Papa Shango with the run-in. So much happened, and that was really one of the last big returns in wrestling, when the Warrior came running down that aisle at the Hoosier Dome for WrestleMania 8. I will never forget that. It was before, as I say, the internet did do its part to ruin wrestling as we knew it and change the game.
So we ruined wrestling?
No, we came after it was ruined.
Oh, okay.
But
I couldn't handle that.
It really shows you how strong the Royal Rumble is as far as its impact on WrestleMania.
Yeah, I mean, the Rumble sets the stage. I mean, it's like, okay, the winner, they just keep building the winner up to make a more viable contender for the world title. And it's one of the more entertaining matches because you get to see the matchups you don't normally see.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, Axe versus Smash. You know?
I don't remember the year, but they were number 1 and number 2 in the Rumble, and it was like, oh my God, Demolition has to fight each other. Who thought? It was heinous. You never thought anything like that would happen.
And it was one of the first times we saw Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan.
Yep.
You know, it's nice to see little feuds. It was done so much better 10 years ago.
Absolutely.
Than it is today.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, it's one thing to see Bushwhacker Luke get tossed over, within the first 3 or 4 seconds. Now they do it with Santino. Hopefully he can go a little bit longer this year. But the Rumble, some of the very first ones were very, very entertaining.
Now, of those very, very entertaining Rumbles, what would be your best Royal Rumble of all time?
Oh, like I said, hands down, 92.
92? You
92.
Agree? We
Absolutely.
concur.
Oh, yeah. We're smart.
Thank you, Mr. DiCaprio. 1992. It's going to be your best. All right.
All right.
The Royal Rumble
is
this Sunday on pay-per-view, and again, we will have a live video wrap-up from the Romines, actually, in southeastern Wisconsin. Going to be hosting the pay-per-view along with the Pro Wrestling Report staff. Congratulations go out to Dave in Waukesha, Wisconsin, not you, who won the best seat in the house and a $25 gift certificate at Romines for the Royal Rumble
and
this Sunday.
And you're forgetting, Meathead is his waitstaff for the night.
He is his personal
That's
waiter.
going to be awesome.
Personal waiter. No tips, Dave, please. And that is this Sunday, and again, just before the Rumble, 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time from the ATL. We'll have our Royal Rumble preview, Dave Hero and myself, at WrestlingRadio.com, where the awards for the 2009 Wrestling Radio shows will be also announced. David Hero, speaking of shows, we heard news earlier this week that WWE planning to enter the television foray, and that with Santino Marella leading a situation comedy, a sitcom. Now, we did talk about this past Monday night before it was announced, and it even said that would be better than the TNTs of the world and maybe even the Bobby Heenan show.
You know, Santino Marella is extremely talented.
He is amazingly talented.
And it's gonna be
in the
great.
ring and outside the ring, and unfortunately, we don't get a chance to ever see him in the ring.
Who would have thought Santino Marella would be a crossover star?
It was the slap that made his career.
Slap?
When he got slapped by Jim Cornette. I don't know if he did.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, just think how things would have been
For that
seen
mouth?
differently. Yeah.
It's just think about when he first came into the business in that Raw in Italy, I believe it was, where he won the Intercontinental Championship and then just morphed. It was actually probably, I'd say, a year ago when it was the Miss Wrestlemania thing he was going for, and people just realized how funny he was. And no matter if you like him or not, he is absolutely hilarious. One of the shining stars on Raw. Well, we learned that on WWE.com there's going to be a sitcom featuring Santino Marella and two others, namely Beth Phoenix and Vladimir Kozlov.
It's like
It's going to be sort of like an Everybody Loves Raymond kind of
Perfect
thing.
Strangers
Mm.
with Belky.
Cousin Balky Batukamus.
Yeah, that would be Vladimir Kozlov. And then Larry can be, then Santino can be Larry.
This could be some good stuff. They plan on farming it out to some networks and see if they may be interested. The USA Network already saying that they're not interested in sitcoms at this point. I'm not sure how that business relationship goes if WWE does branch off into this direction, but a smart move business-wise for WWE because you don't need wrestling fans to recognize the talents of Santino Marella because he is that talented. It could be a good show. I'm sorry, it will be a good show.
I think
It
it's
could be a
going to
hit
be
show.
great. I think it's going to be great. I think Beth Phoenix should be the straight person to his comedy, and
Yeah.
it's going to be some fun stuff.
I'll look for that soon on WWE.com. What did you think of Santino's Casa?
I think Santino's Casa is very entertaining. I mean, he just gets it. He just knows how to entertain. And the thing that people don't know about Santino is the only reason why he got involved in the wrestling business was because his baby girl, his daughter, was a wrestling fan, and he wanted to make her proud.
Well, and make her proud he's doing. And again, look for that on WWE.com. An interesting bit of news as WWE branches off into some other businesses. Hopefully it won't be like IcoPro or the World Bodybuilding Federation or the
WBF
XFL.
was amazing. Come on.
That's how Lex Luger got in, remember?
Yeah, he was supposed to be one
He
of
was
the
the guy.
bodybuilders.
It was at a Royal
And
Rumble,
you
as
know
a matter
what?
of
We
fact.
can-
It was the 1982 Rumble.
We can all make fun of the
Even with the mirrors.
XFL, but let's face it, if it wasn't for the XFL, the NFL would not have changed their production.
Absolutely. And, I'm glad to finally meet somebody who could admit that. That other guy, what's his name? Not Frank. What's his name?
Meat Torso?
Because he's a
Dumb
moron from the waist up.
Yeah, that's what
Thank
they
you.
call
That's
him.
our new correspondent, Rashi Brown, the Skull Crusher of Ring of Honor Wrestling, made his debut on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN this past Monday night. And let me tell you, folks, as David Hero said, the wheels on the bus didn't go round and round Monday night. They fell off the bus.
They fell off completely. Yeah.
Fun times. And anytime you have Ken Anderson on, it's just it's a wild ride.
You never know where it's going to go, and then you got the Skull Crusher, Rashi Brown, blowing out speakers all over the world from screaming into the microphone.
Make sure you grab that on iTunes or at pwrshow.com if you haven't subscribed already. Be sure to do so as well at pwrshow.com, and all that is completely free. We have an iPhone app coming very soon as the production team
So
gets
does
off
that
their
mean
ass.
you're
and
going to give us some
does the work.
iPhones then?
No, we're going to get the iTab or the tablet PC.
Okay, I'm looking forward to that.
It's going to help us with our coverage of WrestleMania from Phoenix, Arizona.
And where are we going to be at?
We're going to be at Bebe's Steaks and Lemonades.
Armando Estrada's restaurant. in
Who else is going to
Glendon.
WrestleMania and going to cover it like we have for years and will again this year?
I can tell you who's
Anybody?
not.
Anybody?
Just us. You, myself, and Frank.
Speaking of going to a live event, TNA currently on a tour of the United Kingdom where a new global champion was crowned, David Hero.
I couldn't believe it.
Well,
Wait. I'm not surprised. Didn't I predict that or no? I remember.
well, it didn't have to do with the Divas, so you probably did predict
I was
it.
probably right, yeah. Like I said, the Divas, I'm always clouded, you know? That's my kryptonite. I can't think straight.
Rob Terry, the new global champion for TNA Wrestling. But speaking of house shows, TNA specifically considering, Hogan has said publicly, that maybe house shows is not the business that they need to be in at this point. Maybe they should reinvest those funds in some other business opportunities with TNA. And we know about the woes they have with their house shows. And they're not like you with the Blizzard Brawl. They can draw 2,000 people on a consistent basis. They're looking at the couple hundred when they go into these markets.
What they're looking to do is ending the house shows and taking that money and putting it into live TV. Which then eventually, that's what they did with WCW.
Mm-hmm.
They canceled the house shows, they reorganized, put the money into live TV, and then once they got a better rating and a following, then they went back on the road again. It's probably the right thing to do for TNA. The only drawback is a lot of those guys get paid on a per-show basis.
Right.
So they're taking money out of the TNA talent.
I'm not sure they are in a position to care about that at this point.
Well, there's already a lot of unrest among the talent to begin with.
As there probably should be.
A lot of them are very uncertain as to what's going to happen. There's a lot of rumors that Bischoff and Hogan have a list of guys they don't like. And some of those guys are the ones that have been with TNA from the beginning and that are fan favorites.
Yeah. But as I said, too, if you're in a business and they're coming in to change the business around, you can't think about people's personal feelings. They got to do what they feel is right for business, whether it be right or wrong. And we had a lot of discussion on this week's Interactive. We'll have a lot more discussion on next week's Interactive, which is all about the fans. But I don't think I can fault TNA for maybe not focusing on those who made the company.
Eric Bischoff is loyal to one person there.
Hollywood?
And that's Hogan. He could care less about everybody else because he's in there to make some money. Because you know that contract, it's a sweet contract. Plus, I'm sure there's incentives. When the ratings go up, they get paid more money.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't there be?
That's why Eric Bischoff is a smart, smart man.
So you think they should walk away from the house show business at this point?
Absolutely.
A lot of backlash, a lot of fans out there saying, how stupid is this? They're making TNA smaller by doing
but
this.
those fans aren't going there and supporting the house shows. When you get 400 to 500 people, they had 370 in Green Bay. That's ridiculous.
At the same time, talking about no longer taking pay-per-views on the road unless it's Slammiversary or Bound for Glory, doing everything out of the Impact Zone in Orlando.
Right now, from what I've been told, the plan is that they are only going to travel in April and October for pay-per-views. I think that's another big mistake because, no offense to all you wrestling fans in Orlando, you're spoiled. You don't realize what you're getting, and they need to get out of that building and get some new fans, some hungry fans that are going to cheer and boo and have more fun than try to be the smart mark fans that are going to sit there and try to dictate how the show's going to be run.
And here's where there could be a problem. There are buildings TNA can run in pick a city in this country. They can't go to these huge places like they did for Slammiversary last year, or the Palace of Auburn Hills, and even with a $7 ticket, you know, they can still draw a couple thousand people, but if it's a 15,000 seat arena, it's going to look cavernous. So, you know, here in Milwaukee, for instance, go to the Rave. Put 1,000 people in there. That's what ECW did. Go to the Milwaukee Theater, perhaps. Maybe it's a little too fancy at this point. But exactly. There are places they can go and take the show on the road and still make it look as good as it can. But here's the point, though. As bad as some of those TNA fans who may be spoiled may be in the Impact Zone, you sort of need them if you're TNA.
Well, yeah, because at least they know they're going to get their 1,000 people in there. Let's face it, that building only holds about 1,000.
And it's capped at about 1,200. So.
Like I said, about 1,000.
Right.
Why do you got to be right?
No, I was not making a liar out of you for 200 people. I'm simply giving the number to the people. I'm all about numbers.
You're all about the people.
10 weeks of WrestleMania. We talked about it on this past Monday's radio show on 540 ESPN, where we pick, leading up to our coverage of WrestleMania, we pick the 10 best WrestleManias of all time. And David Hero, you picked WrestleMania 6 as your number 9 this week. Was it because Edge was in the crowd?
Absolutely.
Rhythm and Blues?
Yeah. Dallas Page driving Rhythm and Blues down to the ring in the pink Cadillac.
Hogan versus Warrior was the main event that night.
Who didn't love that match back then?
Yeah, I still mark out for it.
It was awesome.
It's a good matchup, WrestleMania 6. My pick was WrestleMania 8, actually. I'm sorry, WrestleMania 24. Me, I picked WrestleMania 8. WrestleMania 24, which of course saw the departure of Ric Flair for that time from wrestling. And some good wrestling action as well. Edge versus The Undertaker on top of that card, where The Undertaker's streak continued when Edge had a chance, it seemed. WrestleMania 24 from
Nobody
Orlando.
has a chance against The Undertaker at WrestleMania.
Not even Shawn Michaels?
Not even Shawn
What
Michaels.
if it ends up in a cell?
That's Undertaker's match.
Well, yeah. You're right. I don't see a chance that he's ever going to lose at WrestleMania. Why invest 18 years in this and then have it go away?
Absolutely, yeah. Just let him run it, run the table, Let him retire at 20-0 and be done.
Is he going to make it to 20?
Oh, of course. He only works a half a year anyhow.
He works from Wrestlemania
And doesn't
through
do house
Survivor
shows.
Series.
He
Yeah,
doesn't do
that's
house
it.
shows.
WrestleMania through Survivor Series. Otherwise, he's just about off. Awesome Kong, Dave Hero, has asked for her release from TNA Wrestling. Several reasons are cited by Kong. Obviously, that situation with Bubba the Love Sponge. And also, I think, as you said, there's not as much money going to be available to some of the talents coming up in the future as there may have been in the past.
You know, and I could actually see Awesome Kong showing up in a WWE ring.
Yeah, they could use her.
They could use her.
Bertha Faye, Part 2?
Oh, she's far better than Bertha Faye.
Well, as far as working,
Yeah.
yes, but
I mean, she
Same type of
just
gimmick.
has that look where, let's face it,
Big Bad Mama.
I mean, the Divas need that big heel to come in there. And let's not forget, Gail Kim and Kong had some great matches.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Well, make sure you hop on over to pwrshow.com where you can get your PWR gear, shirts, mugs.
There's
even
a new
thong.
shirt coming out, right?
There is a new shirt coming out.
Meathead
it'll be out
811.
before 8/11. Will be available at pwrshow.com. And as we said, take a listen to that ever popular Ken Anderson interview available at pwrshow.com as well. Lots of you discussing what's going on in the wrestling business in the forum at pwrshow.com.
Did you
And-
see all the people that picked up that interview and ran with it on us?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, it's hot news.
All the big sites.
It's hot news. Well, the
Hot
biggest
news.
site started it.
Well, of course we did. But hot news.
Also, the chat at pwrshow.com during our live Monday night broadcasts on 540 ESPN and streaming all over the world at espnmilwaukee.com is a place where you certainly want to be Monday nights after WWE Raw. David Hero, we're going to be with you again live Monday night after Raw on 540 ESPN. But just before that, make sure you check out our segment on the Wrestling Radio Awards this Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at WrestlingRadioAwards.com. So until then, get ready for the Royal Rumble. It should be an exciting one no matter what happens. And we'll see you again next week on the Pro Wrestling Report.